Hey everybody, welcome back to the series Staples from Scratch. This is my second video in the series, and as you can tell from the title, I'm going to be doing mayonnaise. This is my first time ever experimenting with this, and the clips that you'll see will actually be my fourth recipe that I tried, so it wasn't too easy, but I'm glad that I'm able to bring you one that I know truly works. If you don't hear anything else that I say in this video, and you try it, hear me now, do not put the oil in right away. It'll make more sense when we get into it, so let's go. So these are the ingredients that I started out with. I'm going to go through a couple of the clips from when I first tried it out and was not successful, so you truly know what it takes to make a good mayo. So here I'm just putting everything in the blender. It's frothing up okay in a regular blender, but it just doesn't seem to be thickening up. So I am moving on to an emulsifier or an immersion blender to see how that works. So now you can see that it is getting very white, but is not quite thickening up. So I'm adding a little bit more oil in to see if that will help the situation, and gonna continue to blend and see if it thickens up this way. And that didn't work, so I'm starting over with a brand new recipe. I'm realizing that the first recipe I used was a 2-to-1 ratio of aquafaba and vegetable oil. So the second recipe that I'm using is about 4-to-1, which worked quite a bit better. I got out my mixer because I remember making a meringue a long time ago with aquafaba and it frothed up quite well with this, so I thought I'd give this kitchen appliance a try. This is a good time to mention that if your mixture is too liquidy, just add a little bit more oil. Now the main difference in this recipe is that I'm putting all the ingredients except for the oil in first to let that froth up, and then slowly adding in the oil little bits at a time. Now I'm realizing at this point that it's still not fast enough of a blender, so I'm going to be transferring back to an immersion blender, which is what the original recipe requested, and see if that will make it froth up a little bit better. Now, as you can see, it is thickening up quite a bit. I do want to mention that the recipe says you have to do this for like 1 to 2 minutes, and I definitely did it for way longer than this. My thumbs were hurting trying to do this. So definitely be prepared for a little thumb workout, but this did end up emulsifying quite a bit better and blending quite a bit better. So luckily I only wasted one recipe and it was only just aquafaba and a little bit of oil, so I wasted probably like 30 cents there, but I was so glad to find that this recipe was thickening up and looking pretty good. Okay, so a bunch of trials and tribulations there. A few things that I want to mention is that in the original recipe that I ended up using, that fourth recipe, it did call for a little bit of mustard powder, which I thought gave it a nice taste. It did also call for a sweetener, which I did not add because I think that makes it taste a little bit more like salad dressing-y, and I didn't want to do that. The taste with just a little bit of mustard was really, really good, so I think I'll stick to that recipe. I slightly mentioned aquafaba. If you're not familiar with what that is, it is essentially chickpea brine. So if you have garbanzo beans or chickpeas and you have them in a can and you go to pour the water out, that is the water. So really, I didn't pay anything for that. And then, like I said, the oil was not too much. So considering a jar of regular vegan mayonnaise can be upwards of anywhere from like $4 to $8. I paid, for about a cup of this, I paid like 25, 50 cents maybe. I didn't really calculate it, but that's all it could be. So I think this is super great, especially when you're running out and you really need it for a recipe and you don't have time to run to the store. This will be key in the future for when those types of instances happen. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and were along for the ride with me. I really appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.